Well, welcome to Book of Life, especially for those of you visiting this morning. It's wonderful to have you here with us this morning. We started a series last week, well, actually it was the first week of January, called A New Year, A New You. And I wanted to address topics for the year that we find extremely important to ourselves. Things that everybody's always worrying about, though we don't necessarily want to say so, because we want to sound more spiritual than we really are. So I said, no, we're going to hit the things that are important to people, and we're going to talk about those, see what God has to say about them, and start this year in a new way, a new year, a new you. So the first week, we dealt with finances, because in my opinion, that's probably the most important thing in our lives. I'm not saying it's the most valuable, but we wrestle with that more than we seem to wrestle with anything else. So my first lesson was my finances, and I gave you an acrostic for how to handle your finances. To be smart with your finances, we use the word SMART, S-M-A-R-T. The S in SMART stood for store some up. Don't spend all your money, save some. The M in SMART was make wise choices, particularly avoiding greed and debt. Avoiding debt and avoid lending and getting other people in debt. A was the avoid greed. R was remember what's important. T was tithe. That was the first week, my finances. We went from my finances to my family. And I gave you the acrostic people. And we filled in each one of those letters. So we had for the first 2 weeks, smart people. My finances, my family. Today we're at my education. And the acrostic for today is seek. Smart people seek. And then next week we'll close off the series with my spirit. And the acrostic will be God. And we'll end up for the 4 weeks with smart people seek God. So come back next week, finish up the series with me. But if you've missed some, you can get them on CD. And I think we might also be making DVDs. I'm not certain, but just put a little question mark on there. Can I get a DVD? And they'll let you know. All right, well, before I get into it this morning, I'll tell you a little story I heard about a woman who was walking down the beach, and she stumbled across this bottle. Barnacle crusted, but it was beautiful. It looked really old. She said, I can take this home and clean it up. It looked nice on my dresser. So she took it home. She started to clean it off, and a genie popped out. Yes, it's a true story. And the genie said, "You've saved me from thousands of years in imprisonment. Thank you so much for this. I will grant you one wish." So she thought. She said, "I know. I want to be irresistible to men." Yeah, great wish. And all of a sudden, she heard a noise, and pop! She turned into a hot rod. It would be hard. I mean, if God came to you, if God, not a genie, the real deal, if God came to you and said, "I will grant you one wish," what would you wish for? Don't shout it out. Think about it. That'd be a hard thing to answer, wouldn't it? Most of us would say, "I want $1 million." Nah, $1 billion. Nah, $1 trillion. I want a wallet that never empties. We'd be at money, I'm sure. Most of us, money. That's how I'd be. Give me money. I'd want world peace. Well, it actually happened. True story. God did appear to somebody once and say, "What do you want?" The story is recorded in 1 Kings. Let me read it to you. The Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream and asked him, "What would you like me to give you?" True story. Solomon answered, "Oh, Lord God, you have let me succeed my father as king, even though I'm just a babe and don't know how to rule. So give me the wisdom I need to rule your people with justice and to know the difference between right and wrong or good and evil. Otherwise, how would I ever be able to rule this great people of yours?" And the Lord was pleased that Solomon asked for this. And so he said to him, "Because you've asked for the wisdom to rule justly instead of a long life for yourself, or for riches, or for the death of your enemies, I will do what you've asked. I'll give you more wisdom and understanding than anyone has ever had or will ever have again. I will also give you what you have not asked for. All your life, you'll have wealth and honor more than that of any other king." Solomon asked for wisdom. He would have never thought of that. But you know, it's interesting. The fact that he asked for wisdom made me think he already had some wisdom. That was a smart thing to ask for. God's amazing. Sometimes you'll ask for a little bit of something. Just give me a little bit more smarts so I can be a good king. Oh, I'll give you a little more smarts. I will make you the smartest human that ever lived. Thanks, God. God is often that way. You ask him for a little and he gives you a lot. And I'll give you money. And I'll keep you safe from your enemies. You know, a couple years ago, Beth Sar Shalom was outgrowing its building. That's our Saturday group. And Book of Life doubled in size in a couple of months and doubled again and doubled again. And we started running out of room and we were praying, God, we need more room. Just a little more room, God. And God brought us to Palo Verde Baptist Church and we all decided, let's work together. We asked for a little and God gave us a lot. God sometimes works that way. It's amazing. He didn't ask him for money, but he ended up with money. God's pretty cool. Well, let me tell you more about Solomon's wisdom. 1 Kings 4. God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand by the seashore. Would you take me down, Irene, just a little? I'm a little hot in here. By the sand of the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than all the wisdom of the men of the East and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. See, to you that doesn't mean anything, but that's where all the scholars were. That's where the brain bank was. They knew about the men of the East. And so the guy who wrote this down said, oh, Solomon passed those guys up a long time ago. And his fame spread to all the surrounding nations. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. He described plant life, from the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the walls. He also taught about animals, birds, reptiles, and fish. Men of all nations flocked in to learn from Solomon because their kings sent them to learn. This guy was brilliant. He was smart. Now, when we think of wisdom, we just think of somebody who can solve deep riddles and mysteries. Like the next story that comes in the Bible about Solomon and his wisdom, there's two women that come before him with two babies, a live one and a dead one. And they say, we lived together, and we both had babies about the same time. But in the middle of the night, her baby died. While I was sleeping, she took my baby and switched it with hers and said, the live one's hers. But I know my own baby. She's lying. She stole my baby. I want my baby back. Now Solomon's like, how am I supposed to know whose baby's who? And Solomon, not only that, but he was a man. They all look alike. So he said, let me think about this for a minute. Oh, I know. This is easy. Let's just cut the baby in half. You can each have a half, and it's fair. It's even. And the one mother with the really dead baby who stole the other baby said, yeah, that's fair. I guess in her meanness and in her grief, she despised the fact that the other woman could have a living baby. People get that way sometimes. She said, okay, that's fair. The other woman said, no, just let her have the baby. So Solomon knew which one the mother was. That's wisdom. But there's more to wisdom than just being able to make wise decisions. See, wisdom is acquiring knowledge and using it well. So wisdom has a lot to do just with acquiring knowledge. And wisdom is extremely precious. It said that Solomon wrote 3,000 proverbs. Holy cow. Did he work for a fortune cookie company or what? 3,000 proverbs. You know, you open up the Bible, the book of Proverbs in there, there's only 31, and he didn't write all of those. So where's all those other proverbs he wrote? In a cave somewhere. I don't know. It didn't say he wrote 3,000 proverbs that were supposed to be in the Bible. He didn't say that. He just wrote 3,000, and several of them were included in the Bible. They were Holy Writ. The rest weren't Holy Writ, but I bet you they were still brilliant. Proverbs 8:11, listen to this. Wisdom, one of these 3,000 proverbs says this. Wisdom is worth much more than precious jewels or anything else you desire. So the genie pops out. What you going to ask for? Money! Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, the smartest man who ever lived, said that wisdom is worth more than jewels and money and treasure.